Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of the Fifth Quarter Show with Peete and Rover. We do this show every single week on howardsrock.net. If you're not signed up for howardsrock.net, what are you doing? But listen, we have another great episode for you. We had a lot of great things that happened last week in college football. We got some great matchups coming up this week. How you doing, Spencer?
I'm doing quite well, Pete. It's great to always be back here on the Fifth Quarter Show.
Yeah, man. It's always a good day to talk college football. And for anybody who's willing to listen, it's always a great day for them to listen to us too, right?
Yeah, we're doing them a service by blessing them with our presence of discussing football and just us like talking to the listeners and being a part of their lives. It motivates them. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to get into this college football discussion.
All right, so we'll talk about some of these big matchups this week. Luckily, it seemed like the first maybe 4 or 5 weeks, there was only maybe one game or even two games at the most. They were really interesting. Now that we've got well past past the half year mark, after 7 games for pretty much every team with a bye, finally we're getting into the meat of the schedule, right? So some of these backloaded schedules, we're starting to see some good matchups, especially in conference in the Big Ten and the SEC, the Big 12. So let's start with Notre Dame and Michigan. I think this might be one of the most interesting games of the week. And so Notre Dame, is coming off of a bye. They had a week to rest, and they sat and watched Michigan go on the road and lose a football game. So the funny thing about this game, as far as Vegas goes, is that Michigan was favored in this game originally, as much as even 2 days ago. And now, because all the money's going on Notre Dame, the line has moved, and Michigan is now a 1-point underdog. I got the game in Vegas for the Bet Now picks. I got Notre Dame as an underdog at home. No, it's in Michigan, not home.
Yeah.
I got Notre Dame as a 1-point underdog, and now it's moved the other way. So how do you see this playing out? I think, listen, there's a lot of ways to evaluate this, and you can talk about strength of schedule, who have they played. You can talk about the defensive stats, the offensive stats, and you can talk about every stat under the sun. This is one of those games I'm not going to overanalyze, as they would say. I just think Notre Dame's a better football team than Michigan and more consistent. So, I think this is probably about right. It probably will be closer than some Notre Dame fans want it to be, but I still think that Notre Dame, unless they completely slip up, should come out with a win here this week against Michigan. How do you feel about it?
No, I actually think Michigan's a better football team. Michigan's a better
based on what?
Because Michigan, they beat Iowa at home this year. And then last week they were down 21-0 at one of the toughest places to play at Penn State. And for the majority of the second half, they dominated Penn State. They woke up. They played really well in the second half. If that receiver caught that touchdown, they might have took Penn State to overtime. Notre Dame, their best accomplishment this year is going to Athens and playing Georgia tough, when even South Carolina took a third stringer in there and beat Georgia. So Georgia was not a good team. Notre Dame hasn't proven anything this year. They barely beat USC. This game is at Michigan. This game for Harbaugh is his job. If he loses this game to Notre Dame, his job is over, because then it's an 8-4 season. But if Michigan beats Notre Dame, then maybe that Ohio State game can even get more interesting, because last week, Shea Patterson at Penn State played his best game, Shea Patterson. So this offense is coming around. I think Michigan's going to win the game. I really do. I think Michigan's good now. I think their defense is finally getting a little bit better. And I'm not impressed with Notre Dame, and you're going to see Book and that offense not move the ball up there.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because I disagree with you on this, right? You say that Notre Dame hasn't impressed you, and
no, so you're not playing devil's advocate. You're playing Pigskin Pete. You're playing yourself.
No, I'm playing devil's advocate because you're in one breath you say, I'm not impressed with Notre Dame. What have they done? They did nothing to impress me. What has Michigan done to impress you?
They went to Illinois. They took care of business out there.
They went to where?
Illinois. Wisconsin couldn't go there. Look at this offense, Pete. The Michigan's only loss this year is to Wisconsin. And
So
Penn State.
what you're saying is Penn State is such a great team, and Michigan took them down to the wire, right? That's what you're saying. So, but
Yes.
the ACC is terrible, right? We want to go ahead and say the ACC is terrible, right?
Sure.
Okay, the ACC is terrible, and the team that played Penn State the closest this year happens to be somebody called Pitt. So is Pitt better than Michigan, or I mean, is that a wash? What do you think about that? I mean, if you're
a little bit better, but Pitt's not terrible. Pitt went to Syracuse and won. Pitt's not a bad team.
Right.
No, Pitt's not bad. The ACC might be bad in totality, but Pitt also beat UCF this year.
Right. Right.
No, I think Michigan's all right. I don't think these teams are that great, but I think Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, I don't know. I just saw a lot of fight in that team. I'm excited.
So Notre Dame is ranked in the top 10, I think, right, in the AP poll. Forgive me for not knowing exactly where they're ranked because I don't really pay attention to the AP poll.
There's a reason Michigan was favored in this game.
Yeah. So, and what's Jim Harbaugh's recent history, or his entire history at Michigan? What's his record against top 10 teams? Not very good.
1-9. He's terrible.
Yeah. All right. So you think that Michigan's going to win the game?
No, track record sides a few, but you heard Jim Harbaugh today. He's not going to the NFL. He's at Michigan. He's going to be at Michigan for a long time.
Well, he could stay at Michigan for 50 years. That doesn't mean they're going to beat Notre Dame, though.
I just think Michigan is playing their best ball all season long. I thought last week that half last week, best half they played all year.
All right, I don't know. Listen, I think it'll, like I said, I think it'll be closer than Notre Dame fans want it to be. So I'm not saying it's going to be like
Michigan wins, are you going to eat crow next week?
No, I mean, why would I? I'm not a Michigan fan or a Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
I mean, it's a projection. I just think based on what I've seen from both teams all year, that Notre Dame looks like a more complete team and a better team than Michigan does. I mean, listen, does anybody out there think that Illinois is a better football team than Wisconsin? Of course not. So everybody that picked Wisconsin, which is 99.99999% of everybody in America, picked Wisconsin to beat Illinois. It didn't happen. So did they have to eat crow for that? I don't know. I mean, it's just a projection. Listen, but I'll tell you this much. If Michigan does win this game, there'll be a flood of people that come on the YouTube channel and say, oh, see, you don't know anything about Michigan football. You don't know anything about football, because everybody north of the Mason-Dixon line thinks that I hate Michigan just because I say all the facts about what they've have not accomplished in Jim Harbaugh's tenure. So
they're not going to get a better coach than Jim Harbaugh.
I don't know about that, but that's a story for another day.
I think it's fun now to like Harbaugh because I think everybody's on the side of Harbaugh sucks now. It's kind of fun. Like, I think you could buy him at a really low stock.
Well, I wouldn't want him.
I think Michigan fans hate Harbaugh. A lot of them are out on him now.
No, I think they like him. I think it's the only reason he's probably still there.
Well, he has like a lifetime deal, but I think it's very interesting. And if he loses to Notre Dame, though, they're going 8-4. That's going to be rough because Ohio State's probably going to beat these guys. So,
well, I think that's a pretty safe bet as well. All right, so next on the list, I think I wrote down here Boston College, Clemson. That's not that interesting. So we'll move on from that one.
Yeah, BC played well, I think, last week though. I mean, I think they're
4-3, 2-2 in the ACC. I think is their record. But we'll move on from that. I mean,
it's at BC.
No, it's in Clemson.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Boston College is one of those teams. They're a lot like Pitt. They're very tough up front, and they're going to make you earn everything you get. Now, they don't have the skill players on the outside, like Clemson or any of these other elite teams. But they make you earn it. So
I think that's going to be closer than you think, like a 21-point game.
I would say if I had to bet, if somebody put a gun to my head and said you have to bet against the spread, I probably would pick Boston College at plus 33.5 because.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, first of all, if Clemson's winning by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, they'll take out their starters and they'll have their third string in there by the fourth quarter. So
yeah, and Clemson, I mean, Trevor Lawrence looks shaky this year.
Yeah, he's so awful. He's so terrible that I can't even believe anybody that would want him. I mean, he's never lost a college football game in his college career. He's got a national championship, so he's definitely terrible.
Well, the
yeah.
point is, last year he was the best quarterback. I mean, maybe in his junior year he'll play up to that standard, but it's unrealistic for people to think he's going to get better than last year. It's just like Mahomes in the NFL. Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns, and then they're like, Mahomes is going to get better. No, it's impossible. Yeah. So, no, he's still damn good. He's damn good.
He's made some questionable throws for sure. I think there's no denying that. Those are easy to clean up. That's a problem that's not hard to clean up. So I'm not worried about Trevor. I'm not worried about this Clemson offense or defense. They're playing lights out. The only thing that people can point to anywhere on this Clemson team as a deficiency is the fact that he's thrown too many interceptions. So not too worried about it. But all right, moving on to, let's stay in the Big Ten. So we have Penn State and Michigan State. This is a little bit of a shocking line in Vegas to me, and it's 6. I think it was 6 yesterday. It's 6.5 now. Penn State is a favorite on the road at Michigan State. I know everybody's going to tell me, or not is going to tell me, had been telling me that Michigan State's got a really good defense, Pete. I've been hearing that for 8 weeks. I know they got a good defense. These guys can't score on anybody. I mean, am I missing something here? Is there a reason for anybody?
I actually thought you were going to say the line was – I thought you were going to go with this, that the line was like that the line should have been lower, like it should have been a 3-point game because Michigan State at home. But you went with the Penn State is not favored by enough. It should be a 13-point game.
No, I wouldn't go as high as 13, but I'd say
like I agree with you because Penn State's defensive line is really, really good. Penn State's passing game's a lot better. Penn State handles Michigan State every year. I'm in complete agreement. I think Penn State's not going to have a problem here. Especially Penn State won at Iowa.
I can't. Penn State's one of those teams that for some reason they don't do anything. They look bad. They're good on one side of the ball. They lost to Arizona State at home.
Yeah, Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State. I'm sorry, not Penn State. I don't know if I said that. But they still continue to get credit from people. I don't understand this. Am I missing something here?
Didn't Michigan State just get blown out by Wisconsin too? And
yes.
Terrible.
Yes,
their offense is always terrible. It's just, well, historically, East Lansing is a very tough place to play. Like in the last 3 or 4 years.
They could play on the moon. If you don't have an offense, you can't score. You can't beat Penn State, Ohio State, or anybody.
Well, remember, Michigan State's the team with D'Antonio. He's known for being the upset shocker. I mean, he's beaten Michigan at Michigan State. They won that game when Ohio State had Ezekiel Elliott and and Michael Thomas. Michigan State went there in the rain and beat them.
Okay, I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
But you remember that stuff.
Yeah,
so that's why they are a team that's known to play spoiler. That's in their DNA.
I got
historical, and also East Lansing. The field is horrible there. You know, it's going to be rainy. It's going to be ugly. And Penn State's a hit or miss kind of offense, like we talked about. So I still think Penn State though can do it, can win.
Here's the reason I would say that this is different than other years. Is because you referenced the Ohio State game where they upset Ohio State that one year. That Michigan State offense that year was much better than what it is now. Also, Penn State's defense this year might be the best defense that James Franklin's had since he's been the head coach at Penn State. And Michigan State's offense might be one of the worst that they've had since D'Antonio's been the head coach at Michigan State. So I don't even see it unless it's the special teams or pick six or some defensive touchdowns or something like that. I don't see Michigan State even scoring more than 14 points in this game on offense.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
They're a little scary for some reason. They just are. But no, if you look at the stats and everything, Penn State should be the play. But it's college football, and
I got you. So
it's a road game.
Who would you take with 6.5 points?
I'll still take Penn State. And you know what's cool, Pete, is that they allowed sports gambling in Pennsylvania. So for Penn State, you can get all the future lines. So back in September, the line was 3 points for Penn State, and also the Michigan line was 3 points. So I took like both of those.
Awesome. So you won. So
you
you say
bet the futures on Penn State.
So you won last week.
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations. You owe me $5.
Yeah, everybody lost.
Okay.
Right? Did you take the 9 or something?
No, I think I took the over and I won that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was over 46, and then I won the Penn State Michigan game you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I won that one. I took the over and won that.
All right.
So next on the list, this is not a top 10 matchup, not even a ranked matchup, but for some reason it's extremely interesting to everybody because of what these two teams have done and who they've played and how they've come along since the beginning of the season, and that is South Carolina at Tennessee.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, so again, but sticking with the Vegas theme, and I'll give you my personal opinion on this. Tennessee is a 4-point underdog at home against South Carolina. So now what we've seen is that South Carolina has one of the toughest schedules in the country. Somehow managed to lose to North Carolina week 1. I'm not saying, obviously, as a Clemson fan, I'm not going to dog North Carolina too bad because we had a close call with them as well. But what we've seen is South Carolina beat Georgia in Athens. We saw South Carolina do everything they could to hang with Florida last week, and there's a lot of controversy going on out there about officiating and all of that sort of thing. I'm not one of those guys that's a conspiracy theorist, the game's rigged, all that. I do think there were some bad calls in that game, but either way, South Carolina proved against Georgia and Florida that they can hang with top 10 teams. Tennessee, on the other hand, after 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, looked like maybe the worst team in all of the Power 5, maybe even one of the worst teams in the entire FBS. But since then, has come on a run. They beat Mississippi State, and then they gave Alabama all they could handle last week in Tuscaloosa. So this is a tough game to call, isn't it? Who will win this? I mean, it is to me. I mean, do you have a feeling? Do you think one team is more dominant than the other?
I think that the play here is definitely taking Tennessee with the points because it is a toss-up. I'll tell you what about that South Carolina game. First of all, I think Florida is dragging because Florida had to play Auburn and LSU in back-to-back weeks, which absolutely almost decimated their team. And it was a rainy game. Will Muschamp was correct in his post game. He said that the passing game was awful. And I don't think you can blame the refs at all, Pete, because what South Carolina proved last week? That they're not ready to be at the big boy table just yet. They're not a winning program because guess what? They had that lead. They had a 4-point lead with 9 minutes to go. They end up getting blown out. Pete, I can't exaggerate this enough. I took South Carolina last week. I can't emphasize this enough. They played one of the worst fourth quarters any team's going to play. I don't give a crap about the refs, man. They couldn't stop Florida. They fumbled the ball. Helinski was overthrowing everybody. It was a winnable game for South Carolina. So I'm a guy, I'm a neutral guy who lives up in Pennsylvania. I want to see South Carolina kind of turn that corner a little bit. And I just don't know if they're ready yet. I like their recruiting. I like kind of what Muschamp is doing. I think Tennessee, though, here's the thing about Tennessee, Pete, is that Brian Maurer, their starting quarterback, is probably going to be out with a concussion, and their backup is not good at all. But guess what? Tennessee in the trenches is playing great football right now with Tim Jordan. Jeremy Pruitt has turned this whole narrative that he's overmatched for the job. And the way he competed at Alabama, Tennessee fans are right back behind him. I think Tennessee wins this game, kind of like Mississippi State. I think that UT is going to win this game over South Carolina.
So I'm with you.
Also, South Carolina got blown out by Missouri as well when they went on the road.
Right. Now, I agree with you that it's going to be close no matter which way it goes. I don't think you're going to see one team blow another team out. I don't know who's going to win the game. I think it could be by a field goal or something at the end of the game, but
yeah, Muschamp is undefeated against Tennessee.
I don't care. Listen, I don't care about that. He's not necessarily undefeated against the players on Tennessee's team or their coaching staff. But I take Tennessee with the points at home over a field goal underdog at home. The way that Tennessee looks the past couple of weeks, the way that South Carolina has been inconsistent, I take Tennessee with the bet. We'll see what happens. It'll be an interesting game.
Think Muschamp is turning the corner, or he needs to hire a great offensive coordinator?
turning the corner from when? From when he took his first head coaching job at Florida till now? It's been a long time.
Saying from a 7-win program to a 9 or a 10-win team.
Well, he won 9 games his second year at South Carolina. That's why they gave him a 6-year extension. So I'm hoping and praying that South Carolina somehow musters to make a bowl game this year, maybe 6 or 7 wins, and then they'll give him another 6-year extension so I can watch them flounder miserably for another 6 or 10 years or whatever it is.
All right.
Anyway. All right, so next on the list, another Big Ten matchup, because this is your favorite team. Otherwise, I would not talk about them at all. Well, I take that back. They're undefeated. Mm-hmm. They're ranked. They're not talked about a lot. Minnesota and the Fighting Row Your Boaters against Maryland. And Maryland might be one of the most disappointing teams from week 1, week 2 till now. They came out, scored like 150 points the first 2 weeks. Everyone was talking about they're going to beat Ohio State and win the Big Ten. And then all of a sudden they just start losing to everybody, including Temple. But, Maryland is not a team that you could just gloss over, right? I mean,
right.
If they put it all together, then they're going to be somebody that could beat anybody in the Big Ten. But Minnesota is definitely more consistent. Minnesota is a 16.5-point favorite in this game. I believe this game's in Maryland, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's in Minnesota.
It is. You sure about that?
It's in Minnesota, yes.
Okay, I don't know why. Anyway, all right, I'll take your word.
Yeah.
Even if it's I don't care if it's in Canada. 16.5 points seems like an awful lot to me, but you are a big believer in PJ Fleck. Almost like too big of a believer, like kind of a little bit of a fanboy, right? You like him?
Like a little bit of a like poster on the wall, sort of. But I love PJ Fleck because I wanted to be the first guy on the bandwagon for Minnesota football. So, but I love the whole story of Row the Boat. And did you see the kid last week that had the cancer guy on the field?
No, I didn't. And come on, it's hard for me to make fun of them people when you got cancer.
No. But you can make fun of PJ for the Row the Boat or the yellow outfit that he wears.
Well, what is that? What's that saying that he says?
Elite.
He says it real quick, too. It's like 3 different things. It's like something row your boat, something.
Academic, socially, and spiritually?
What? No. What is it again? Say it again.
Academically, socially, spiritually?
I don't think that's it.
Is like with Row the Boat?
Yeah, something with row the boat.
Sky U Ma.
What does that mean?
Sky U Ma is this native, it's the slogan for Minnesota athletics.
All right, so he says like 3 or 4 things real quick. It's like a tongue twister. He's like, Sky U Ma, row the boat, something else.
Sky U Ma, row the boat. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, look. Minnesota's a good team. I will say they're a good team. Is Minnesota going to win the Big Ten? Do they have a chance in hell against either Penn State or Ohio State, depending on who comes out of the Big Ten East? No, they don't. I mean, do you think they do?
Well, Penn State, they're hosting Penn State at home in 2 weeks if they beat Maryland, okay? Mm-hmm. So they're undefeated. So if they somehow beat Penn State, which is, Pittsburgh even played with Penn State, right, on the road. So,
but you just got done saying that Pittsburgh was a good team a couple of minutes ago. Now you're saying, but
I'm saying that Pittsburgh is comparable to Minnesota.
Okay, all right.
So it's possible it could be a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, right?
All right.
So say that they beat Penn State, then they're going to be playing Wisconsin. They play Iowa, which will be a little hard, Northwestern, and then they host Wisconsin in the last game of the season.
I'm saying if by some miracle Minnesota ends up winning the West, maybe it wouldn't even be a miracle. Okay, if they end up winning the Big Ten West,
they have to beat Wisconsin. That's all they have to do.
Do you think that they have a chance to compete with an Ohio State in a Big Ten championship scenario?
No, but if they are undefeated going into that game, there's a chance they can make the playoff.
Wait, back up here. If they're undefeated and they still lose the Big Ten, they have a chance to make the playoff?
They could if the SEC falls apart. No?
No, because the winner of the Big Ten.
But their only loss will be to Ohio State.
Ohio State would make the playoff in that scenario.
Right, but then you could get another Big Ten team in there.
No. Ahead of who? you'll have probably a one-loss team in the SEC that will get ahead of Minnesota. You'll have an Oklahoma, probably a Clemson. They're undefeated. There's only 4 spots.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, they would need Oklahoma to lose.
They need a couple of. They
would need a couple of things to happen.
They need a couple of things to happen.
But, I guess. But Minnesota, they run the football really well. It's a really fun team, and if they get to 10 wins, like I told you at the beginning of the year, it's possible. The recruiting should continue to be on an uptick for the future.
Everybody knows that Minnesota is known for recruiting. It's a hotbed of America. So, you're right.
Well, but with this season, I mean, come on, if they go to the Rose Bowl, I mean, how much fun would that be?
That'd be great for Minnesota, but look, Minnesota's
great for recruiting and everything, man.
Minnesota's ceiling is 10 wins, and that's a great season for them in the Big Ten. Being Minnesota, being sort of the, not
why PJ Fleck is great, because Minnesota is the stepchild of the Big Ten. That's why I love Minnesota, because they are the underdog of the Big Ten.
And the other part of that is if somehow PJ Fleck over the next 3 or 4 years manufactures 10 or 11 win seasons back to back somehow, he won't be at Minnesota anymore. He'll go.
That's right. I think he wants to build a Clemson of the Midwest.
Oh
no, he's not leaving, Pete. This program, Pete, is going to be elite, and it's going to stay elite for a long time. He's not. Where would he go? USC?
I mean, who knows what'll be open then?
Come on.
Listen, man. Look, listen.
Look, he'll be a number. But if he goes to Tennessee, he'll be a Butch Jones. They'll hate that guy there. Minnesota's perfect for PJ and all of the fun stuff he does.
Conservatively, and I'm probably being very nice here, there's at least 25 jobs in major college football better than a Minnesota job.
No, I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying PJ will never. He's not going to leave. He's not that kind of guy. He's loyal.
No. Is he loyal whenever somebody's willing to write him a $7 or $8 million a year check? I don't think so. Loyalty.
That's the question. You can come back to me on this show.
All right. So
come back and argue that point on this show.
So since you're in Pennsylvania and you said that sports betting is legal there, I'm going to go ahead and send you a check for everything I own, an undisclosed amount that we'll talk about later. And I'm going to put that on Minnesota to not make the college football playoff. And there's a 110% chance I'm going to win that bet. But
the odds of that, you're probably not going to get good odds.
No, I'll probably make $5.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
I get you. I'm not saying they're going to beat Ohio State either. I'm just saying I think they could beat Penn State. I really do. I think there's a possibility of something special.
Well, sure. If Illinois can beat Wisconsin, Minnesota can beat Penn State.
11 wins can happen. I really do. 11
wins. That's wow. I'll go under. But, yeah. All right. So moving on, another Big Ten matchup this week. The one everyone was waiting for until last week, whenever Wisconsin laid a major egg against Illinois, is Wisconsin and Ohio State. Now, I still think this game should be interesting. I know everyone's going to just sort of dismiss Wisconsin, but they had a bad day. Everyone's got bad days. Clemson had a bad day. Aside from that, people comparing the Wisconsin loss at Illinois to Clemson's close call with North Carolina, there is no comparison. Illinois is not even a top 50 team in America, and they're not even anywhere close to a program as what North Carolina is. I'm not saying either team is great or that any team in the top 10 should struggle with either one of those teams, but it is what it is. And this is unfortunate for Wisconsin because they had title hopes 2 weeks ago, and now they have to go face what many consider to be the best team in America right now in Ohio State. And this game is in Columbus. Right. And so if Wisconsin loses, I don't care what they lose by, whether it's 3 points or 30 points, they are now a 2-loss team after that, and they're pretty much their playoff hopes are done. Now, their Big Ten championship hopes mathematically aren't done yet, but they're very, very slim if they lose to Ohio State. On the other hand, if somehow Wisconsin goes into Columbus and upsets Ohio State, this could shake up the entire Big Ten and the college football playoff picture. We've seen this happen before, right? We've seen Ohio State make it to the playoffs. What was that, 2016? As a one-loss non-Big Ten champ. Penn State won the Big Ten that year. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State made it ahead of them, and Penn State didn't make it in, and we saw what happened in the playoffs. Clemson dominated Ohio State. But what my point here is, if you're a Big Ten fan, if you're not a Wisconsin fan, if you're a Big Ten fan in general, just somebody that wants to see the Big Ten make the playoffs no matter who it is, you want Ohio State to win this game. If Wisconsin wins this game, that makes it tougher or at least opens the door for the Big Ten to get left out in the playoff again this year. Right?
I believe so, but then most likely Wisconsin and Ohio State are going to play a rematch in Indianapolis in the Big Ten championship.
Right.
So then Ohio State can avenge the loss. I think if Ohio State stops the run, though, they win this game. Wisconsin's never had a passing game since like Russell Wilson. And this is like those old Alabama LSU games where LSU is going to try to run the ball. And I don't see a path Wisconsin can win this game. I think it's going to get ugly. I think Ohio State's just so much better than Wisconsin, even before last week. I just think Ohio State is like on another level right now.
I agree. I also would say this, though, that Wisconsin's defense is really, really good. I don't care what they did last week. And, if they could keep this a manageable, relatively low-scoring game compared to what Ohio State normally does against people, and keep it manageable and run time off the clock with Jonathan Taylor, and keep it a fourth quarter game, there's always a chance they could beat them. I think
there is. And Wisconsin, they haven't played as prolific a passer as Justin Fields, so I can't wait to see Justin Fields play this defense. I am excited for that. I want to see if Wisconsin can match up athletically on the perimeter with Ohio State's receivers.
And I'm excited to see how Justin Fields does against the best defense that he's seen all year as well. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be an interesting game.
That is an interesting subplot there is, how does Ohio State look in this game, Because I don't think Wisconsin's going to score – they might score 10 points in the game only.
I think they'll score more than that, but
because their quarterback is still not that good. And I'm worried that defense of Ohio State's going to get after him.
I think not good is a bit harsh. I think he's good. He's not great. He's definitely – Wisconsin, yeah. He's good.
He's not great. He's all right. He's like Michigan State's quarterback.
Oh, stop the Michigan State. He's better than Michigan State's quarterback. But anyway, it'll be an interesting game, and I'm sure.
We'll see. I'm not sold on Wisconsin. I mean, they beat Michigan badly, right? But come on, let's go, Wisconsin. Show me something in this game.
I think it almost favors. I'm not saying favors them to win the game, but I think it does help that they had that embarrassing loss to Illinois last week, because they're going to be more focused than ever now to come out and prove that they weren't overhyped and overrated, and they have a chance to do it against one of the top teams.
And I think they might have been preparing for Ohio State.
Yeah, that's overlooking. Yeah, maybe. All right, so last on the list we have Auburn and LSU. This is a top 10 matchup as far as the AP goes. LSU a 10.5 point favorite against Auburn. Now, I believe LSU will win the game. If somebody told me right now, projecting ahead, and they said they came from the future Monday, they traveled back in time like the Back to the Future, and said, "Hey, Pete, LSU won by 30 points." I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came back from the future the day after the game and said, "Hey, Pete, Auburn won by 1 point." I wouldn't be surprised. And this is not an indictment on LSU, because I think LSU is a better team, certainly a better offense. It's only because I don't know who Auburn is. They are a very bipolar team. 1 week they can look like maybe barely a top 40 team. The next week they can look like a top 3 team, top 2 team. So I don't know. I mean, this is Gus Malzahn's MO, right? This is the way he's always been. He's got all the talent in the world, but he lays some eggs, and then sometimes he'll go out there like he did a couple of years ago and beat Alabama.
What weeks other than 1 week has he not looked that good?
Are you talking about this season?
Yeah,
I'm talking about it as a whole.
This season, their defensive line is great.
Yeah, it's
They're
elite.
Healthy. They're coming. First of all, your statement of LSU beating Auburn by 30, I would be shocked beyond belief. I think Auburn is going to go down there, and LSU is not going to beat them, but they're not going to blow them out at all. I think Auburn has a chance to really win this game. This is going to be close. Auburn's D is really good, and Bo Nix is coming along well.
All right, so I just said I thought that any scenario is not surprising to me. So, yeah, if it was
LSU blowout would absolutely surprise me.
It wouldn't to me.
Because I think Auburn is really, really good.
Maybe I'm being a little bit harsh with the 30 points. All right, maybe 17 points. A lot. I mean, more than two scores. I mean,
the key for Auburn is can their offense survive out here in the Bayou? And then their defense, like, can the pass rush get to Burrow? I really think Auburn can win this game. I'm really excited about
this. Of course they can win the end. It's a top 10 matchup. Anybody in the top 10 can beat anybody else on, depends on who.
It's going to be fun because if Auburn wins this game, it creates such a ripple effect for the college football playoff.
So you think that 10.5 points as a spread for LSU as a favorite is too much?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. That's if I was actually betting, I wouldn't bet that game.
It's scary. It is a little scary.
I wouldn't bet it because
their offense is great. LSU's offense is great, okay?
I just don't trust Auburn.
I understand you.
I don't trust them. I don't trust to know which Auburn's going to show up that week. That's why.
Yeah, and the quarterback of Auburn, Bo Nix, he didn't do well at Florida. It could be a really tough environment.
Yeah. Now, again, LSU probably we do know LSU has played a defense that's at least comparable to Auburn's and Florida. Florida's got a really good defense, and we saw what happened there. So the question is, can Auburn's offense and Bo Nix keep up with LSU scoring? And I think the answer to that is probably no. If I had to call it, I'd say LSU somewhere right around the spread, maybe by 8 or 10 points.
And how many points do you think LSU is going to score in the game?
I would say 28 points.
Okay.
28 to 30 points, and I'd say Auburn scores 21 to 24 points, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, LSU. If Auburn wants to win, LSU can't score more than 24 points in this game.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think Auburn's defense is better than Florida. I just think Florida, they had the game at the Swamp. Auburn had a Mississippi State the week before, and I think Auburn's defense is still awesome now. I think they're even getting better. And Auburn's defense even played well in the Florida game. So I think Auburn does have a better defense. It's just Bo Nix let them down in the Florida game. You look at Auburn's defense. I mean, I could rattle off some of the roster to you, Pete. But they have Derek Brown.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you real quick.
I would say that Auburn probably has a slightly better pass rush than Florida does, but I'd say that Florida has a better secondary.
Their secondary got lit up. That's what's real. I think Florida's secondary looked terrible against LSU.
In that one game.
Just everybody, but they have Daniel Thomas back there is really good. Jeremy Dinson, Derek Brown, and Marlon Davidson is the guy too. So I just think this Auburn defense is spectacular, Pete.
I think it is too, but is it that much more spectacular than Florida's? That's the question.
I think it is.
I would agree. I think it's better, but I don't think it's miles ahead or anything.
I think it's better. And if Auburn wins this game, still Auburn probably can't make the playoff because they're going to have to beat Georgia twice and Alabama. They're probably not going to beat Georgia twice.
Yeah, well, either Georgia or Florida. That's still left to be seen how that's going to play out.
Right. Because Auburn, they did that whole year, where they beat Alabama and Georgia, and then the SEC championship game, they were just gassed and they just couldn't compete anymore.
No. Listen, the 2 weeks before that, they were dominating people, and then they're gassed 2 weeks later. That's not how this works. The whole thing is if you dominate somebody 1 week and a week later you're gassed, that's why you lost. That is the biggest fallacy in all of sports.
What is the week?
Is that when you lose a game, you say it's because we're tired. Because we got tired of beating everybody that's good. So now we're tired. week. We weren't tired last week. We're tired this week. We weren't tired 2 weeks ago. We're tired
Well, if your schedule's a ball buster.
All right, but in the case that you're talking about, they were rematching a team that played them. So why wasn't that team that beat them in the championship game tired? Why wasn't Georgia tired? They played Auburn 2 weeks before that, right? Why weren't they tired? But Auburn was tired. It's look.
I mean, that's it. For Auburn. Whenever you have to play Georgia and Atlanta, it's like going to play on the road. It's hard to beat a team twice. It sucks.
It is.
It sucks.
Yeah. I don't buy the whole tired thing. It's a sorry excuse. It's an excuse of what it is.
Yeah.
Injuries are one thing.
But it could be a reasonable reason
why
they lost.
Injuries, if you have a lot of decimating injuries to key positions on your team, that's a different story. But hey, we had a hard schedule, so we're tired and beat down. That's just not. First of all, it's never been proven that that's even true.
I got you. I got you, Pete.
Yeah. Anyway, you're talking to a Clemson fan here. You think I'll hear that on a daily basis? Oh, Clemson's they walk into the playoffs and everyone else is tired. That's why they beat everybody.
Yeah. I might be one of those people, honestly.
Yeah, well, except for the fact that when they play teams early in the year, top 10 teams, whether Auburn or Georgia or whoever the SEC team is that everyone says is great that year, Texas A&M, they beat them early in the season before anybody's beat up.
True.
And
your team is NFL talent, man. It's a different level team. It really is.
No, you're getting it wrong. The only reason they're winning anything is because they play in the ACC. Don't you know that? Haven't you figured that out yet?
No, you're right. But when Joe Klatt ranks Clemson out of the top 7, he's doing that because of what we see this year on the field. Like, I don't blame those people because Clemson's going to go undefeated and get into the playoff anyway. When you're in the playoff, like, who gives a crap what they rank you right now?
I don't. And I don't care what Joel Klatt ranks them either. My problem with Joel Klatt and these other guys like him is not what they put in their rankings. Their rankings are meaningless. They mean nothing. It's the misinformation that they spread out there and say that they aren't as good as last year after 7 games. Well, they're better in every metric statistically and have as many wins. So if you're going to make a claim like that, you better back it up with some facts instead of just saying it. And that's what everybody does. I mean, I don't know.
People don't watch the games all that closely. They really don't.
No, they watch the highlights and they look at the stat sheet and they say, "Oh, this guy, Trevor Lawrence, who everyone thought was going to throw 80 touchdowns and no interceptions, he's not doing that. So Clemson sucks this year."
You're in a no-win situation because you're playing, because when you play Louisville, they'll say, "Oh, Louisville's terrible." And the most convenient thing that they say, they compare you to Florida State. Like, oh my gosh, that team that would barely get by with Jameis Winston throwing 4 interceptions, but they would be losing games and then magically come back and survive.
Right.
So yeah, it is. Yeah, it's very lazy, and yeah, these games are bloodbaths. They are playing.
They're blowing everybody out. Other than North Carolina, they're blowing everybody out, and that's with their third string in for the second half because they're taking.
They hate a winner. They really do, Pete.
Oh, I know that. I don't care. Listen, I love that they hate us. The fans are fans. Fans do what fans do. They're tired of Alabama. They're tired of Clemson. They want somebody else. They want their team, or they just anybody else. It's the anybody else party at this time. We don't want to see Clemson and Alabama anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But fans are one thing. If you're a paid analyst, a supposed non-biased analyst for a major network, but you're still biased and you still don't do your homework, that's where I have a problem with it.
They're so biased with Jim Harbaugh. They love him.
Well, they're biased with a lot of things. Joel Klatt is a very, very biased Big 10, Big 12 guy. I mean, anybody who can watch him and not realize that is living in a dream world.
You know why? Because Fox is, they're paying him.
I don't care if they're paying him or not. He's supposed to be he claims to be objective. Claims.
He watches the highlights. And Clemson can win 100-0, and he'll always blame the schedule. So.
Well, listen, again, last year he said the same thing after 7 games, and he's wrong. So hopefully he's wrong again this year.
I like Klatt, though. I really do. I think he's good.
I have respect for people that are honest about what they're saying and not just
well, he could be wrong. I mean, not everybody's going to be
no he I don't nothing wrong with being wrong. Everyone's going to be wrong. Don't claim to be objective and not be objective. I don't claim to be objective. That's the difference between me and people like him. I am a Clemson fan. I mean, anybody that watches this channel can tell I'm a Clemson fan. I certainly have bias, and I admit it, but they don't admit it. They pretend as if they're not biased when clearly they are, and everybody can see that they are. Mm-hmm. So that's my point.
I gotcha. Yeah. I gotcha, man.
So, all right. Everybody, thank you. We're running out of time here, but another great episode of the fifth quarter.
No, I loved it. I love you've been getting into arguments, man. That's what makes this so much fun.
Oh, it's definitely not an argument. It's just a debate. I guess argument's a debate.
Discussion.
Yes, and you always disagree with me on stuff, which is a lot of fun because instead of agreeing on everything, it makes it more interesting. But
exactly.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. It's been another great episode, and come check us out. Make sure you become a member of HowardsRock.net if you want to see this show every single week. Pigskin Pete and Rover checking out.